Hey there, podcast lovers. Get ready to dive into a world of captivating conversations and mind-blowing insights. Welcome to the Alonzo Bash podcast, Real People, Real Conversations. From fascinating guests to thought-provoking topics, we're here to challenge your perspective and ignite your curiosity. Whether you're a long-time listener or joining us for the first time, buckle up for an experience that'll leave you craving more. Each episode will explore stories from some of your favorite entertainers, community leaders, entrepreneurs, and regular folks with some amazing stories. May even share a laugh or two. So, are you ready to expand your horizons? Let's kick things off with today's episode that's guaranteed to blow your mind. The Alonzo Bash podcast starts right now.
Greetings and welcome to Alonzo Bash podcast, Real People, Real Conversations. Tonight I'm very much excited. Tonight we have an icon in the Caribbean American community. The brother is not just a community leader, activist, a business owner. The list goes on. A black scholar of sorts.
Alonzo.
A black scholar of sorts, but of course, the owner of Everyone's Place, which is the largest assortment of, but the largest collection of Black history books in the DMV, and the only Black bookstore in Baltimore, as far as my recollection. Without further ado, man, brother Nati, welcome.
Alonzo Bashmat, I really appreciate you inviting me.
I should call your father Nati. You're an elder, man.
You're serious, man. You're serious. But like I was saying, and I want to put it on the record because I always say that art is what is going to rescue us, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you merge and conjure art with activism is critically important. So I appreciate what you do and what you bring to the table.
Well, give thanks, man. I really, really appreciate that, man. I really, really appreciate that. Honestly, I learned from guys like you over the years,
Okay.
And of course, over the years, we've been talking and we always say we need to sit down and, wrap it up. And the time is now. Everything happens. Things don't happen before it's time.
When the right time comes.
Yes, I. So I like this platform. We got to rush it, sit down and, having a good reasoning. So, all right, so let's get into your story. Born and raised
Trinidad.
St. James.
DeBay Road.
All right.
Isaac Terrace. Barnes Road.
Okay.
Yeah. Dundonald Hill.
Wow. You can continue.
Bellevue. That's where all my family is from, My family go back to St. James from the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
So they lived St. James. My father was born in St. James. Mother was born in St. James by the Panyard up there. It used to be TNTech Power Stars Panyard. Father born in St. James, raised in Isaac Terrace, right outside where Pan Am North Stars used to play. My great-grandparents moved up in Bellevue. A lot of people know Bellevue right off along Circular Road, in 1924. So like 101 years ago. So yeah, DeBay Road,
something, you just said something there that kind of caught my attention. You said something that I don't think I've interviewed countless people over the years. And, even being a Trini, I don't think I've actually heard someone mention their family and went back all the way to the 1920s.
Oh, yeah. I went back even further than that, the 1800s.
That is true, the 1800s. Wow. Well, you know what? I don't expect nothing less from you, man. I'm not like it. History is a big thing for you. All right. So, what was the family structure like as far as siblings? Where you placed? First, second, third, brothers?
My mother had 11 children.
Wow.
I was the seventh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even though everything around me circulate around 1 and 9, but I was the seventh child.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually grew up in Trinidad all the way to your teenage years?
Teenage years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in St. James in those early years for yourself?
In St. James?
Yeah.
Man, it was beautiful on the one hand that, you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of family. Like I tell you, my maternal grandmother had 2 children.
Okay.
But my mother had 11 children, but one died before I was born. So I know 10 of us, And my sister had 8 children. And then my paternal people had a lot of people. So I had a lot of family. I didn't even realize I was poor, I was rich in family and rich in love, Rich in love.
Nice.
What about you? Where you grew up?
I grew up in Arima.
Arima, okay.
Yeah. Well, I was born Recreation Road in Dabity.
Okay.
I was born in Arima, back then, Arima Health Center. And my early years grew up in Dabity. Dabity Recreation Road. Then my family moved to Welcome, the area called Welcome, right before you get to Arima itself.
Okay.
My family actually owned a record shop. So I grew up in, Welcome, then Cookreach Road, Pinto, Margarita Village area. So
Cookreach Road is where?
Cookreach Road connects, you know where the Savannah is? The Savannah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Willie's Ice Cream.
No, I know. But I was just making sure you're not talking about Cookreach in St. James, you know?
Oh, no.
So because your family was in the record business, it is why you're doing what you're doing today?
Yes, I grew up in the music. When I say born into it, I was, there's photos of me sitting on the counter,
right?
With the headphones in my ear. Like I said, grew up in music, and my dad had a studio. I've always been exposed to it. And I remember as a kid, just going through the records, and I learned to read at a very young age. So I would, because my grandmother was big into reading, but I would read the record jackets in the back, learn about. I was always curious, who wrote the record, produced the record, look at the pictures, these things.
Right. You know that never interested me too much. I just wanted to hear the lyrics and not really concerned about who sang it, Yeah. But then later on, I started beginning to be interested in, who that person is and what went into them to create the lyrics that they created,
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, man. When I first was interested in playing music, even before, and now that you mention it, some albums came when you open the album, they will actually have the lyrics in the inside.
Right.
And it was some Bob Marley albums, I can't remember specifically, but it will have, I think.
Rastaman Vibration.
Yes, there you go. Rastaman Vibration had the lyrics in there.
Right.
And I remember reading it at such a young age. And when I told my dad I was interested in playing music, back then with the turntables, and he was going to take the chance and messing up his needles. So made sure that I know what I was doing. And the very first album he gave to me to play was Bob Marley Exodus.
Right.
And from that point to now, the history is there. But that's how I really started getting into Black consciousness, honestly. I was wrong it, but reading it at such a young age, it became kind of natural after that,
Okay. So this is Carnival time, brother.
Yes, sir.
I grew up, my biggest brother used to bend wire in our gallery. Because he used to bring out a section in Starliff,
Yeah, Starliff, yeah.
Every Carnival as a youth, we be bending wire in the gallery, The only one thing I never understood is, like, back in the days, it was like, nah, Nati, you're too small, Because, they used to have band clash in them days,
Yeah.
So I just used to, maybe wait until they get drunk and throw away their headpiece. I never understood why it took so much time to create such art. And at the end of the day, you just throw it away,
Yeah. That's a good point. All right. So you, what was this?
No, you get more out of me than I ever give anybody biographically, One thing people know about me, I don't do biographies.
Hi guys, PSA Baltimore, Washington, One Love, Caribbean Carnival 2025. Save the date. Sat July 12th and Sunday, July the 13th at Druid Hill Park, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Picture this, 2 days of nonstop Caribbean vibes. Parade of bands, festival featuring live entertainment by local and international artists and DJs, arts and crafts, Caribbean food, lots more. We're talking vibrant live music, including steel bands that will guarantee to make you move with the tastiest island flavors. It's the ultimate celebration of Caribbean culture, bringing the heat from the islands to the streets of Baltimore. Don't miss out on this unforgettable experience. One people, one love, one carnival. www.baltimorecarnival.org.
I do my research, and I noticed you didn't really get deep into the background, so that's why I'm trying to pull as much as I can.
You're trying to be the exception. I don't do biographies, but I do Carnival. Carnival is my biography.
All right, so let's talk about Carnival. So the history of Carnival. Let's start with the history of Carnival. I know you're deep into the culture, and of course, I'm a student of the thing. How accurate is the history of Carnival? Because we always hear about the slaves came, they used to watch the French, from what I remember, watch the French, and the slaves had one particular day that they would, I guess, imitate. Is that the right word to use?
You mean like when they got off for Christmas?
Well, that was the Christmas. Right.
They would revel. Yeah, they would revel. You see this book right here? I put this book here just for you. You can see it? Alonzo Bashman, or I need to put it in the frame.
Okay.
One of the very best books you could get on Carnival culture.
Really?
Yes. So the French, they had their own Carnival, the Catholics,
Yeah.
And they would do their own thing. Africans wasn't allowed to participate in it or anything like that, you know. But in 1834, right, with emancipation, Africans decided they would have their own carnival. But they still used to have some rebel stuff, like, you know, the only time they would be off is like between Christmas and New Year's Day.
Yes.
That is when the enslaved Africans would be off, you know, and that's when they do their own thing, you know, carnival and stuff like that. But in 1834 to 1838, when that period of emancipation came about, you know, Africans came up, started celebrating what they call Canboulay.
Canboulay, yes.
Canboulay. So some people say Canboulay means, it's an African, comes out of an African word and means procession. Yes. You know, the way people will, you know, go along. And some people say it meant cane burning. You know, because at the end of the seasons, Africans, you know, burn the cane and stuff like that. So it might be a combination of both of those things. Yeah. But the Europeans never like it, because you see, African festivals is always about resistance, rebellion, and freedom. You know? So they did everything to, you know, to get rid of it. Yeah, everything to get rid of it, you know. So they banned it at one time, you know. So yeah, there was Canboulay riots that took place in the 1800s, you know. And so what the Europeans thought, what they brought about to have some control over it was competition. Okay. So once they brought competition into place in the early 1900s, it kind of quenched the rebelliousness of the Congolese to some extent, you know. Yeah. So we did well from there. So that is why, if you look at Carnival today, the real Carnival, what we call the traditional Carnival, is what we used to call Old Mass.
Yeah, Old Mass.
The real Carnival, the Petit Mass on Tuesday, that is more like that's not the traditional Carnival, you know. So the characters like Baby Doll, you know, Midnight Rubber, Jumbie, Sailors, Dame Lorraine, Jab Jab, come out of the devils, Jab Jab and Jabolas, you know, you have the Indians, and all of them have, you know, specific rituals, specific meanings, and specific symbols, you know. So like if you take, for instance, like Baby Doll, right? Yeah. And all of them had a transactional nature to them, you know. You know, these people who playing these masks with like onlooker buys, like them until they give them some money, you know. So they all are you know? Yeah. So the baby, you remember, look, man. So the Baby Doll came out of a how I should put it? It came out of like almost a sexual kind of molestation of African women.
Okay.
Led by the caretakers, you know. Yeah. And so once they have this baby, they would be like, look, this is your baby, you know. We would do it in an Old Mass, you know. You know, it used to be a woman, but sometimes men used to play like women, holding this baby and taking it to the crowd and saying, this is your baby, you know, and insisting until they get money from that person, you know.
Right.
So the tradition in terms of the Old Mass, it have a lot of meaning. And it's just kind of unfortunate that to some extent it is getting pushed in the background, because it's always a conversation between, you know, how much of the traditional Mass we really need to keep so people can understand it. Because most people these days, they don't know that Carnival was a freedom celebration, you know, to free up the spirit, you know, Moko Jambi, the Jambi, the spirit of Carnival, you know. It was something to free yourself up. But the way Carnival is this day is not, you don't have that kind of freedom. People put in rope and roping off this, you know. You have big shots who could just play certain kind of Mass, you know. So you lose that freedom and spontaneity. So the only see that kind of spontaneity in Carnival still is Old Mass, Juve.
Old Mass, Juve. Yeah, that's true. Juve is we call it poor man Carnival, man.
Yeah, because you could make anything. Yeah. You could make your own costume. You don't have to go pay for no costume. You could make your own costume.
It's freedom.
Right.
So the history of Jab Jab. I've read a story. I don't know if it's accurate. Don't laugh. Like I said, I'm a student.
No, you might know the story better than me.
No, I heard. I don't know if it's good talk or.
Let me hear what you hear now.
I heard the story of Jab Jab came from a slave that died in molasses or something of that nature. Buried in molasses.
Okay, I ain't hear that one, but that might be true.
Yeah, but I think he was chained up and he was buried in molasses.
Right.
And that's the reason why they have the chains, and especially in Grenada they have the the chicken in the mouth and all these kind of
right.
These things. That's what I heard. So
something sounds familiar about that story.
Yeah,
it sounds familiar, like I read it somewhere before, you know.
Yeah, I can't remember specifically if I heard it somewhere, but that's what I heard. I always hear that story growing up.
Yeah. But I remember when my bigger brother used to play like Jab Molassie and stuff like that, man. I I know who it is.
Yeah.
I feel them,
We all do.
Yeah. Because the kind of spirit you conjure, right? By playing a certain mass, it conjures certain kind of spirits, Yeah. Even though it's your brother.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. All right. So
yes, brother.
One big part of Carnival is the steel pan. Going through history, like I said, grew up in Trinidad. There was no one person that said actually invented the steel pan.
Right.
From your history knowledge,
right,
how did the steel pan actually started?
Yes. Well, everybody it comes from the tambu bamboo.
Yes.
Then you had the biscuit drum and all that kind of thing and developed where people start Ellie Manet and Bertie Williams and all of them started putting notes, I interviewed Ellie Manet about, maybe about 20 years ago.
Okay, wow.
And he was talking about this. I have a copy of the tape here. I can send it for you. Matter of fact, I have it on, if you go on the website, Morgan website, I'll put part of it there so you could get it. You'll see where I'll have, it's like different aspects of Trinidad Carnival. Okay. And you hear the interview I have there with Ellie Manet. But you talk about it was just basically 3 innovators. Or 4 innovators, right? Like he, Bertie Williams, and 2 other people, Yeah. So everybody credit Spree Simon. But Spree Simon was not really an innovator. He played the first notes, They credit him for playing the first notes. But in terms of the innovation, the different type of steel pans and stuff like that, the innovators were like Bert Williams and Ellie Manet and them,
Yeah.
But it was not no one person who, discovered steel pan, It was working together. Yeah. And coming up with this stuff, Even in terms of St. James, one of my uncles wrote something in terms of the development of the steel pan in St. James.
Yes.
Right? Because St. James was very serious in terms of some situations of the steel pan,
Yes. I was thinking about so many things. Since we're talking about steel pan Trinidad, Eric Williams, he wrote a book. Once again, pardon my ignorance. What's the name of that book again?
Oh, Eric Williams wrote about 10 books.
Wow.
Capitalism and slavery.
Okay,
right?
I think that's the most popular one that I pretty much know of.
So what happened is that capitalism and slavery was his PhD thesis.
Okay.
That he did in the 1940s, right? So that is one of the most popular ones. But he did one on the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody from Trinidad and Tobago should read that. He did one called From Columbus to Castro.
Yes.
Which deals with the history of the West Indies.
Right.
Then he did one on can't remember the names of them. He did on like the Negro in the Caribbean. And then he did one. He used to work with the Caribbean Commission. This is before he became the premier of Trinidad and Tobago. He wrote one because he fell out with them because he realized they just trying because they were based in the United States. He realized they just trying to control the politics in the Caribbean. So he fell out with them and he wrote one on them. And it's a real interesting piece. Nobody might be able to find it to tell you this. In 1979, when Black Stallion did the Caribbean Man.
Yes, the Caribbean Man.
So the PNM had a convention.
Yes.
And at the PNM convention, Eric Williams' whole address to the convention was a response the Black Stallion Caribbean Man. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. Yeah, his response was a beautiful piece. He had some mistakes in it, but it was a beautiful piece. And it's really obscure. But what happened is that his daughter, Erica Williams,
yes,
she had planned on republishing a lot of Eric Williams' books to Tony Martin. Martin is a Trinidadian. He is who I call, one of the foremost scholars on Marcus Garvey. Died much too soon, That kind of bring an end to it. But I think I see Erica Williams passing some of the books from Eric Williams to a publisher in the United States. So some of those obscure pieces, like the one I just the Caribbean Man, those might be coming back out again.
Well, you know what? I'm ashamed to say, but then again, it had me thinking so I went through the whole education system in Trinidad.
Right.
And you would think a book or a person like Eric Williams, his book would have been in the curriculum. Not to say it was an excuse that I didn't read the book, but you get my point.
That would make a lot of sense, eh?
Yeah, we did social studies and we learned about C.L.R. James and all them people. No offense to C.L.R. James.
You learned about C.L.R. James in Trinidad?
Yeah.
He was above the curve. He was above the curve.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think the only reason I learned about C.L.R. James because he died while I was in school,
That might be.
And I think by him passing away,
it was in the newspapers.
With the newspaper, and like I said, growing up as a young kid, reading was a big thing in the family, you know.
Right.
I remember hearing about C.L.R. James and read his book and all these things. But to go back to Eric Williams, that also had a library in his house. That's another thing. You know, I have to take some kind of responsibility because he used to always say, make sure I pick up a book. And maybe that was one of the books I passed because it probably didn't have pictures in it. But
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is very important that, it's surprising that a person like Eric Williams, his book was never in the curriculum.
Right. Not even up to today.
Yeah.
Not even up to today. Look, I had Dr. David Hines, you know, in conversation, and we were talking about the education system in the Caribbean, right? And even up to today, you don't have that kind of history being taught in your primary school, in your secondary school. You got to go to the university level to even read Eric Williams. Eric Williams is one of the most brilliant historians the world has ever known. Brilliant historian. Some people say not a good politician, but a brilliant historian. Yeah, brilliant historian. Last year, the 75th anniversary of the publishing of Capitalism and Slavery.
Yes.
So it had two celebrations. It had one in Havana, Cuba, and then we had one in Washington, D.C. The one in Havana, Cuba took place because most of the research he did for Capitalism and Slavery was in Havana. And then, of course, he taught at Howard University.
Yes.
So then the second celebration was at Howard University where he taught. Yeah. Brilliant.
Wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. Like I said, the only thing we know, I remember going to school. The only thing I ever hear about Eric Williams, he was the first prime minister, and that was that.
That was the end of it, yeah.
You know, the basics.
C.L.R. James was Eric Williams' teacher at QRC.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, C.L.R. was Eric Williams' teacher at QRC.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when Eric Williams was putting together the PNM, he called C.L.R. James from away to come and help him. But he ended up putting C.L.R. James on the house arrest.
Wow.
Yeah, C.L.R. James wanted to go further beyond the independence thing than Dr. Williams wanted to.
You know what? I heard something over the years, and maybe help me with this, that when the PNM, when Trinidad gained independence and they were forming a PNM government, there was no opposition. And who was it that crossed the floor to create the opposition at the time?
It was opposition, man. Yeah, it was opposition.
Okay.
But what happened is that both the opposition and the PNM got together for independence, you see, to advocate for independence and to see it come true, you know. But it was always the opposition.
Okay. Fair enough. All right.
All right, we're moving beyond Trinidad now.
Yeah. Never Trinidad. We have a lot to cover. Your background, obviously, is one of the things that you do is media. You know, 88.9, Radio 1010. You've been in this thing for a long time. Interviewed countless people. What's one of your most memorable interviews you have done over the years?
I did it on February 24th, 2025 with Alonzo Bashman.
Yes.
I can't think of something that is more memorable than any. I put value in just about every conversation that I've had.
Yes.
Because it's important. So I can't think of one that is more important or less important than the other, you know. But when how we got into this, you know, well, not how we got into radio, but even before radio, a lot of the people who were legends in our community in terms of bringing the history forward.
Yes.
You know, to give us like a different perspective than we get. People like Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan, people like Ivan Van Sittimer, who was born in Guyana, a linguist, right? And the series of books, like They Came Before Columbus, African Presence in Early America, African Presence in Early Europe, African Presence in Early Asia, you know, Golden Age of the Moors, Blacks in Science. That's classic stuff, you know? And then people like Ishaka Musa Barashango. I mean, I could go on because a lot of these people are ancestors now, you know? Ishaka Musa Barashango gave us like African people in European holidays. And he tried to show how all these European holidays, you know, the origin, the genesis, you know? So I could go on people like Asa Hilliard, you know, a lot of these people were my teachers, you know. I could go on Dr. Welshing, and I could go on Amos Wilson, you know, one of the top psychologists we had right here in Baltimore. Patricia Newton, she passed a few years ago. These were people who I was lucky to come up at that time. This is when they were putting together, I was in school at that time, they were putting together an organization called the ASCA, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. All the schools was coming through that. Molana Karenga, who was the one of the main organizers of Kwanzaa. So all these scholars were there, you know, Wanoko Rashidi, you know, a lot of scholars, you know. And so I had a chance to be on that base level when they were putting ASCAP together as a student and benefiting from all of that, because at that time they were making the wrongs around university campuses, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's like the scholarship.
Yeah.
Weren't really done with what these brothers were teaching until a little later, you know. A little later when they find out what was going on, they ban one of them, you know. People like Kwame Ture, who we know as Stokely Carmichael out of Trinidad. We know all of those brothers, the campus and stuff like that, you know. So I was coming at that time when it was really dynamic, you know, really dynamic in terms of and that's why I started by talking about your activism, you know, the way you merge, you know, the art with activism, you know, because that is what we came out of in the early 1980s. You know, like we had ASCA, you know, with all those colors bringing all the information. We had, you know, Malcolm X, you know, making a return. It was strong and powerful. You know, everybody wanted to buy Malcolm X autobiography. You know, the first book they'll ask you for is Malcolm X autobiography.
That was back in actually, that was back in, I can tell you exactly, that was back in like 1992, 1993.
That's
so well, for me, I was...
for you, okay.
Yeah, when I got my hands on the book, back then, like you say, everybody was wearing a Malcolm X hoodies and all these things.
Oh, that's when you got your hand on Malcolm's book.
So I was about, 14? And...
Yeah, you know something? Sometimes we lose the story of Malcolm's family. Yeah. Because, you know, Malcolm's mother came out of Grenada, right?
Really?
Yeah. Came out of Grenada, born in Grenada. She came here when she was like 18 years old. She actually went to Montreal.
Yeah.
Right? Her father now, right? But when she went to Montreal in Canada, her uncle was a Gaviite.
Okay.
This is in the 1920s, right?
Yeah.
She went somewhere between 1918 and the early 1920s. Yeah. Malcolm, coming out of the United States, himself was a Gaviite. He was a rebel.
Yeah.
So instead of staying in the South and being killed by white folks, he went up to Montreal, you know, because it was a strong UNIA Gaviite presence in Montreal, you know, and that's when he met Malcolm's mother.
Okay.
And came back here. So Malcolm's maternal roots is in Grenada.
Okay.
Still have family there up to today, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
So how you got so, well, I'm gonna say involved. What was the turning point for you to get so involved in Pan Africanism? As a young person?
The period in which I grew up.
Yeah. Okay.
So you had to figure out as a youth, elementary school. I'm growing up in a Trinidad that is 1970 Black Power.
Yeah.
It's 1974 National Union of Freedom Fighters. You have a lot of ideas battling. I don't have to battle with the ideas now. I'm in elementary school. I never read a book. So all I have to do is listen and absorb all the ideas that come in, you know. And, you know, where we grew up in Trinidad was strong, you know, strong Black Power base. Yes. So you have a lot of the older brothers.
The Morgan Job and them guys.
Morgan Job. Morgan Job, you know. But so you have a lot of high school or college students now, right?
Yeah.
Who participating in the college level of the Black Power movement, right?
Yes.
So all of these people is like in the village and you sitting down, you know, and them talking and you listening to them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the first time, you know, when I was growing up, you know, you have all those grandmothers have a picture of white Jesus in the house.
Right.
And then brothers coming out like, Jesus is a black one. You like, what? And this is the same time when Rasta is now coming up in Trinidad. You see what I'm saying? Because Rasta really didn't start really becoming prominent in Trinidad until, I would say, Bob Marley music. Around that time, around the late 60s, early 70s. So and that's all dynamic.
Yeah.
Around here at the same time, you know, the Black Power movement, National Union of Freedom Fighters, Rasta, you see the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So I'm coming up and I'm absorbing all of this, you know. I'm absorbing all of this. And it's making sense, you know.
Yeah.
It's making sense. And so we would be sitting down on the steps and listening to the music of Bob Marley. And listening to every word and every lyric, you know. This makes sense. That is why I say what you're doing is so important. Yeah. Because I always say the art is what will rescue us. Because people are, you know, the art move here in a place where nothing else could move here.
Yeah.
Because the art have that beat.
Mm-hmm.
Rhythm of the heart. The heartbeat. The beat from the center of the earth. The beat from the center of the universe, you know? And so when I listen to, so sometimes you listen to the beat without listening to the lyrics.
Yes.
It have some people who, in terms of the ideology, if they listen to the lyrics carefully, they would never listen to the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, nah, you know, what you saying there? But just the beat alone, that movie, you know? So that is how important music is.
Yeah, rhythm.
Yeah. You know, look, you go to a soca party in Trinidad right now, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
And you say, hey, Brother Nati is coming to do a lecture, 5 people. You see? Yes, that is how critical the art is to me.
Well, to be fair, there's a time and place for everything. To be fair.
Yeah. But I don't get no thousands of people coming out to listen to it.
But you know what? You mentioned something that had me thinking. The 1970s Black Power movement and all these things. What came out of that too? I remember as a kid growing up, NJAC.
Right.
NJAC, that political party. Mm-hmm. Was that like a Black Power party, so to speak? Is that the right word to use?
NJAC was a conglomerate of different organizations during Black Power, you know, National Joint Action Committee. Joint. That means that all the trade unions, all the Black Power, all the student movements, everything became a part of it.
Yes.
So in terms of what come out of it, in terms of its legacy, I think that's what you were saying for its legacy. Its legacy is people like me, you know, because sometimes they talk about the success and the failures.
Yes.
The Black Power movement, right? But what you don't understand is that the successes is the people who come out of it like me, who extend, you know, what the Black Power movement meant, you know, to other generations, to my children, children, you see?
Yeah.
So those are the successes of the Black Power movement.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up there, man, because like the reason why, and this is something I never really thought about, but having a conversation, talking to you, I'm thinking, I'm listening, and I'm kind of connecting the dots, because I remember as a young youth growing up, I remember the NJAC movement, of course, PNM, or the NAR and all these things. There was the difference with NJAC, I remember as a youth, it seemed like a lot of serious, conscious-minded people kind of gravitated to the NJAC movement, you know? Fair enough. You're trying to move off of Trinidad, but we keep going back.
Yeah, you keep circling around, man. You Trinity to the bone.
It's a learning experience, man. It's a learning experience. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Everyone's Place.
Right.
You guys launched Everyone's Place 1986, but I understand the name was already there before you guys.
Yeah. So what happened was telling your students now, right?
Yeah.
We had a study group and we study a whole lot of stuff, you know? Study Garvey. We study Nkrumah, we study Eric Williams, we study the Panther Party, we study Pan-Africanism. You know, you just call it, you know?
Yes.
And so we decided, particularly after studying Garvey, that we're not going to sell our labor downtown. We're going to sell it in the hood, you see?
Yes.
Penort, you know, I used to do poetry and stuff, you know?
Yeah?
I used to be in the community, you know, a brother named Charlie Duggar. A lot of people know him.
It used to be like a Muta Baruka type?
No. Not that at all, you know. But I used to like be on the street saying poetry, Penort, brother named Charlie Duggar would have a lot of events, you know, in the park and stuff like that. And I would say poetry, you know, right? And so I knew Penort well, you know. So once we decided that we're not going to sell our labor to any place, we sell it in the Penort. That's what we did, you know. And so we used to sell on the streets, you know. We were like street vendors, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to sell right at the corner there, Penort. Everybody know Penort, one of the hottest corners in Baltimore.
It's a historic landmark.
Yeah, and like I'm telling you, we coming up at the period now when ASCAC is out, so a lot of people looking for like books and stuff like that, right? Yes. Markham is making a return. And then you have a lot of positive hip-hop, you know. Some people fail to see the importance of this. And this is my same connection with you now, with art and culture, how they connect, right? How they intersect, right? Yeah. So you had a lot of positive hip-hop groups, or rap within the context of hip-hop groups, that were up at that time. You had people like Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, Boogie Down Productions with KRS-One. You had people like Africa Bambata and the Zulu Nation, you know, a Tribe Called Quest, Queen Latifah, you know, Poor Righteous Teacher, you know, I could go on and go on and go on, right? But what they were doing, right? And what they were doing is they were like wearing like red, black, and green medallions.
Yeah.
You know, they were wearing Africa cutouts. They were wearing red, black, and green kufis, kente kufis. So, and this is how I know how effective the art is, right? Because all the youth on the streets, you know, little youth in middle school, high school, elementary school, in the hood, you know.
Yeah.
I ain't talking about in the county, no way. I'm talking about in the hood, Penort, right? Stanton, Winchester, Jude Heights, Penort, in the hood.
Yes.
You wanted to buy consciousness. Right there.
Yeah,
you know, right there. And so they were in consciousness, so that's how effective they were, and so we were right there, and they didn't have no bookstores in, they wanted books too, because Public Enemy particularly, they used to talk about a lot of books, they used to give away Francis Cresswell saying book, Question Plantation was a little piece, So these people were interested in books, and they put that together with ASCAC, reaching out to the community and students and stuff like that. People want a lot of books.
Yeah.
But in the late 70s, Paul Coates, who now run Black Classic Press, BCP Digital,
Yes.
Other people know his son, of course, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah. So he had bookstores, one bookstore. It used to be called the Black Books in Baltimore in the late 70s.
Yeah.
One time it was on Pennsylvania Avenue, one time it was on North Avenue, one time it was Park. But by the early 1980s, now when we were on the street, he had wrapped up his bookstores and he was just into publishing.
Yes.
Matter of fact, when the first person we ever got books from was him. That he used to publish from the basement of his house. He used to live right opposite Mondawmin, so we used to go in the basement of his house and buy books and stuff like that. Okay. So yes, so that is what was going on. So we used to have to go to Washington D.C. on Georgia, a place called Pyramid Books. Odari Ali used to run it, and we used to buy books. So we can do this in Baltimore. Ain't nobody in Baltimore doing this. So that is how we got into the business of books. Right? But at the same time, what was happening is that it had a small store. We was by Penn North, and they were a block and a half down between Druid Hill and Pennsylvania Avenue. It was called Everyone's Place. But a brother from and a sister from Virginia used to run it. So what they would do, they would divide the store into small stalls. Everybody who had a little business, culture business, selling culture stuff, could rent us one of the stalls for like $25 a month. We did that. We used to rent it for $25 a month and put some stuff in there. So most of the people who used to patronize it was cultural people in Baltimore. Not regular street folks. Not young folks. That's the people who were into the culture. Because most of the items in there were culture stuff, But you know what, Bashman?
Yeah.
Me and Tabia, were the only people who used to pay the $25. So the sister now, she was from Virginia, right?
Yeah.
She wanted to move back down home. So when she wanted to move back down home, I guess it's for maybe.
Hey, DMV, is your car giving you trouble? Look no further than MB Auto Repair, LLC. They are not just fixing cars, they are reviving dreams on wheels. From mysterious engine noises to stubborn transmissions, their expert, certified, and experienced mechanics tackle it all. From oil changes and maintenance, brake service, tire service, etc., affordable pricing with transparent quotes. That's the MB Auto difference. They are fast, reliable, and honest. Don't let car troubles stall your life. Swing by MB Auto Repair, LLC. Your vehicle deserves the best, and so do you. MB Auto Repair, LLC, your car's new best friend in the DMV. Call today 410-444-0500.
2 reasons, because we was young. We were just as young as the people we were selling to in those days.
Yeah, I thought they were serious.
We only people paying. We young, all the people were like older people, right? Because we coming out of school and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And the third reason, we was right in the block right there, just a block and a half away. So it ain't going to take a long to come up and see us. So we're like, Nati, you want to take this place over? We're like, yeah, we can do that.
Wow.
We can do that. So that's what we did. We moved into that little small store there.
That's an important story right there. That's an important story right there.
Yeah, we moved into that store. But what we did, so we kept the name because we liked the name.
Yeah, it's a nice
We
name.
wanted the cultural continuity. We didn't want to make it look like though they fail. Because it's culture people. We don't want to make culture people look like they fail. So for more than one reason, we kept the name. We liked the name and we didn't want to make it look like they fail. But what we do, we changed the nature of the way they did business.
Okay.
Because the business was, like I say, mostly catered towards culture people.
Yes.
So we changed it up because we was already on the street. You see, we was already dealing with youth on the street, with everything that they bring, all the hustle that they bring. So we changed it up in a way where the same people who buy from us on the street, could come to the store. So we changed the nature of the store just from culture people to regular street people.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how we changed. Yeah. So then you had now not just culture people coming in. It was just a little small room, but we had like young brothers, young sisters. We was the same age with them, and buying from us. Yeah, that's the start.
The first time I went to Everyone's Place was, I think, was back in 1998.
Yeah, so that was we had already moved down to the other store because we moved down to the other store in 1990.
1998. Because the funny thing was, I was dating this young lady, young dating, whatever. She the one that told me, she was like, wait, you from Trinity? You never been to everyone's place? I was like, I've never heard of this. She took me there, man, and
Right.
I never seen anything like it.
Right.
That, man, of course, you guys have been almost 40 years now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What? Trying to figure out how to phrase this question, but I'm just gonna ask. So, what would you say has been the key for your longevity?
One of the keys is hard work.
Yeah.
Next, another key is just our involvement in that community. Because you see, the same way I told you that the brother and sister, they just basically catered to the cultural community.
Yes.
But we expanded that range to everybody in the community because we was on the streets. Maybe if we weren't on the streets and started in a store, it would be different.
Yeah, you already had to connect. Yeah.
And because we came off the street and we understood the hustle on the streets and the mentality on the streets, we were able to bring that into the store. So we merged it. We merged, the cultural tenacity with our knowledge of being on the streets and selling on the streets for years, Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I bought a CD there once, man. A guy named Aikahaba, I believe it's called.
Aikahaba?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually, I've never heard of the artist before, and it's something that I listen to from time to time. Very deep, very conscious, man.
Okay.
And I don't know why I brought it up, but I just remember buying that one CD.
Right. The name hit me familiar.
Aikahaba. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I think it's from the VI.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. He came along the same time with what's that group again from the VI? The brother who died? Midnight.
Midnight, yes.
Midnight,
yes.
Yes. I was the first person who Midnight ever gave a radio interview to.
Really?
Yeah, I still have it.
Wow.
Yeah, because they was like, they were coming to Baltimore, they were like, Nati, we really don't do radio interviews and stuff like that, but we go do one. So I was the first person, Vaughn. I was the first person ever interview Vaughn on them on the radio. Yeah.
But that's a good point because like you mentioned Midnight, it's definitely around because my cousin is the one that told me about Midnight. And I believe around that time I started listening to Midnight and maybe that's why I gravitated to Aikahaba because
they all
that makes sense. All right. So everyone's place, historic landmark at this point. You guys, I was in Trinidad at the time, Freddie Gray. You guys a stone throw away, as they would say.
Right.
From the epicenter. Yeah.
So simple.
What was that experience like for you guys?
Man, it was a beautiful experience.
Go ahead.
No, just in the sense that we see our involvement and work in the community, how it pay off. Because we didn't have to do nothing with our building. But the community came and stood around our building,
Wow.
The community, right? Right next to us is a pharmacy. They went in that. Well, they burned the CVS up at the corner, right? But right next to our building is a small pharmacy.
Okay.
They went in that pharmacy and took everything out of it, right?
Yeah. I remember pharmacy now.
Yeah, that's small. It's still there.
Yeah.
But everybody, when they come out and we check, they was like, we know it's everyone's place here. We're not going to burn this pharmacy because we know everyone's place is right next to it.
Yeah.
You see? So just understanding that the work that we've done in the community over the years, the respect that people give us because of the work we did. People are like, you don't have to stand up around everyone's place. Everybody here know everyone's place. There's nobody touching this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's deep, man.
Yeah, but it's the work. So that is the commitment we had to the community. Community have reciprocated that commitment to us.
Yeah. I was doing some research and just about Black African history, African spirituality, stuff like that. And I remember having this conversation years ago because, like I say, I'm always a student, always willing to learn. I wanted to touch base because it seemed like a lot of people have never heard of this, and maybe you could elaborate a little bit about the laws of Maat.
Oh, the laws of Maat.
Maat.
Right. Maat.
Yes, Maat.
Yeah, so Maat is represented by a goddess with her wings outstretched. So it's what they call the 42 laws of Maat.
Yeah.
Right? It's like how it was said. It was said first thing in the morning. It's like, I will not. Like how we have the 10 commandments.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more expansive than that. A lot of people say, the 10 commandments came out of it. That, like, I will not. So it's like the 42 laws, basic laws, know, that direct human morality and the ways humans should live and the things that they should think about. So in the morning you say, I will not. Mean you don't want to commit these things during the day. And in the afternoon, you look back and you say, I have not.
I have not.
So 42 more, yeah. Ma'at is the what they call goddess of balance, of justice, of righteousness.
Wow. Yeah, I found it to be very interesting because these are things that, I think as Black people, we cannot grow up, well, not kind of, but, we grew up in a European system of education. There's a lot of things that I think that's within us that comes natural, but a lot of times we look at it with a different spectrum because it's not European,
Right.
Kinetic spiritual system, a Kemetic.
Oh, what you said, brother?
Oh, sorry. There's the book of Kemetic spiritual system.
Right, Kemetic spiritual system. Right. Yes, all African traditional systems essentially have the same base,
Yeah.
So the Kemetic, the Kemets, what today we call ancient Egypt,
Yes.
They always say that their civilization came out of the south, So from the mountains of the moons, which is the beginning of the Nile River, right? So, but all traditional African systems have essentially you see a cultural unity between them, things that link them. When interesting thing though, when the Europeans started coming into Kemet, invading Kemet, right? This is what a brother told me in one of his books. He was like, the ancient Kemites know that the invaders wanted the technology and the systems.
Yes.
So they dispersed it in 3 areas and sent it in 3 different areas. Among the people of what is modern-day Nigeria, they send the understanding of the ritualistic universe. So if you look in Trinidad, we are very strong with Ifa because a lot of people in Trinidad, particularly in the late arrivals of Africa, came out of the Yoruba people. The Yoruba people have a very strong ritualistic system. So that's one branch of the knowledge, the ritualistic system. The second branch of this of knowledge was the symbolic system. The symbolic system was sent among the Akan people of Ghana. Akan people of Ghana, they have a very serious system of symbols called a dinka.
Okay.
And this is a lot. This is all science, So a dinka symbols, like one of the most popular dinka symbols is what they call Jinyame. If you see it, you will know it, right? It means that God, all things possible through God, So they have a very elaborate and complex symbolic system, right?
Yes.
Then the third branch of knowledge was sent to the Dogon people of Mali.
Wow.
There they give them the understanding of the stellar universe. So the Dogons of Mali, they trace star systems that these Europeans with all the modern equipment, some of them they are now seeing, some of them they don't even see. One of the most popular stars, what they call the Sepedit or the dog star, which is called Sirius. Sirius A, Sirius B. Europeans just basically come into that, whereas Africans have seen that for a long time. So these Europeans, these 2 Frenchmen, Griol and Dieterlen, back in the 1940s, they went to Mali among the Dogon people because they really wanted to understand the systems. Because there's one book we published, it's called The Pale Fox.
Okay.
But a lot of times when Africans say mythology, African mythology, it's really hiding deep science, but it's hiding it under mythology. So, some people wouldn't recognize it, because in everything the Dogon says, like 4 ways of looking at it, So first way I just see physically, you see?
Yeah.
And then the highest way is when you see the spiritual aspect of the thing, right? So these 2 Frenchmen went trying to learn the Dogon mythology, why the Dogon know so much of the stellar universe that Europeans don't even know.
Right.
So Africans look at them and they let them stay there for like 22 years before they tell them anything. And then they took a high priest, Ogotomali. Let Ogotomali, share some of the knowledge with them, because I guess they figure it's time to send somebody to the West, So 22 years, they wrote a book called The Pale Fox. It's an excellent book. Anybody who have a chance to pick it up should pick it up. It's called The Pale Fox by Dieterlen and Griol, right? Yes. But what happened is that a lot of the symbols that these Dogon draw, right, in Dogon mythology, right, that Dieterlen and Griol put in there, a lot of these people today who are dealing with quantum physics, looking at some of the string theory drawings in quantum physics, matching it up with some of those drawings from the Dogon and almost putting it right over each other.
Wow.
That's how powerful the science is,
Wow. Science, African history. I'm going to ask you about the pyramids. It's something that was then the archaeologists are still trying to connect the dots from your knowledge base. But I'm still trying to understand. Of course, you can help me with this. There's pyramids in Africa, Egypt, obviously, and there's pyramids in Mexico, right? So I want to kind of elaborate, if you can.
And there are pyramids in Sudan.
And Sudan, yes, and Sudan. Sorry.
More pyramids in Sudan than in Egypt.
So most of the pyramids are in Sudan.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the history on the pyramids from your knowledge?
You really want me to? How much time you have, brother Bashman?
We had time, man.
Yeah, so it's a connection. It's a connection, and that's why I told you about Ivan Van Sertima books earlier.
Yes.
Because his book is called "They Came Before Columbus," which means that we were here before any European even thought about coming here. And then his other book, African Presence in Early America. So if you look at the pyramids, all the pyramids, whether it's in Peru, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Mexico, whether it's the monks in what we call the United States today, whether it's the pyramids in what we call Egypt, Sudan, they're all connected. It's the same people built all of them.
Yeah.
Same people built all of them. So the same people built all of them. And there's something that we say, as above, so below.
Yes.
So if you look at the three major pyramids in Egypt, you will notice that it line up with a star system above there.
Yes.
Yeah, notice it line up with a star system above there. It had one time I went into what they call the Great Pyramid to the top. I don't know if they still allow people to do that.
Right.
Yeah, straight to the top. And then you get to a chamber that's very small, right? And I still have that picture somewhere probably close, and I was dressed in all white.
Yeah. And
it's just like the meditation inside there is a powerful thing,
Wow. Silence.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing. I remember I went at a time when nobody else was there. It was just me.
Wow.
And, I was just meditating, and I was so still. It's almost like my spirit left my body,
Oh, yeah?
And then I kind of heard voices, and I opened my eyes, and it was these two Arab girls, So they saw me, and they thought I was a spirit, because that's how still I was,
Oh, yeah.
And they came over, and they touched me on my hand, right? And when I moved, they were so shocked. They just went, tumbling down, and it's not no steps, you're like walking down, like how we used to have ladders back in the day in Trinidad. It's just a piece of board, and then you have little ridges on it. Like, they went down there so fast, Alonzo Bashman. But it's a powerful thing, man. It's a powerful,
Well, that's like a nice experience, man. That's something I definitely like to experience, man.
I don't know if they still have it open, But it's back in the day, you're going to the pyramids, you walk up straight to the top.
One space. Someone who listens to the podcast right now, what can they expect when they walk through that door?
Love. And then love is played out in the products that we carry.
Yes.
Whether it's books, whether it's art, whether it's cards, whether it's incense, whether it's oils, whether it's clothing, whether it's jewelry. Yeah. Everything is chosen with love. Because everything is chosen with understanding who we are as a people. And providing that experience for people. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. It might be a difficult one.
Okay.
You guys you also have a warehouse as well. Yeah. All right. So put the warehouse aside. Right. The store. There's 5 books you could think of, like, I wouldn't say God forbid, but let's just say there's 5 books that, for whatever reasons, like, you could highly recommend that everyone should read. What would it be?
You said God forbid?
I was going to say, there's 5 books. You have to say 5 books. You have to say 5 books. Yeah, you have to say 5 books. Like these 5 books, everyone should read. It's a must read, must have, what have you, in the collection, however you want to put it, generational.
I'll give you a random 5. Because I tell everybody I sleep around 1 million books. So I'll give you a random 5, right? I'll say Miseducation of the Negro. This is Black by Carter G. Woodson.
Yes.
And I say that because this is Black History Month. Carter G. Woodson, what he developed as Black History Week, that later became as Negro History Week, which later became Black History Month, His ideological philosophy behind what we need to do is almost in that book, right? I'm going to say Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, right? Chancellor Williams is one of the earliest people who gave us an understanding of African history and how it was destroyed. And not only because of that, but in the back of the book, he almost gave us a what-to-do list, how to approach it, right?
Okay.
I am going to say from Capitalism, Columbus to Castro, A History of the West Indies by Eric Williams, right? It's one of the earliest and best histories written on the Caribbean. So for Caribbean people who look into, read Caribbean history, Columbus to Castro by Eric Williams. I will say, I'm going to go off the chart and say African Holistic Health. The reason why I say that, Alonzo Bashmet, is because health is a very important thing.
Yes.
Without health, we almost could do anything. And we reach into a period where, even young people are being challenged by health.
Yes.
Because of, well, I call mine a liver, but I will call it a diet. Because
Yes.
of the diets we have, because of the fact that we stop eating at home, cooking at home, that we're eating so much outside, so much fast food, that some of the foods we eating, we don't even know what we're eating, right?
True.
So I will say African Holistic Health by Laila Africa. You know, he breaks everything down there. You know, how you should eat, what should, you know?
Yes.
How much is that, Alonzo Bashman?
I'm not counting, man. I'm just letting you talk. You know, it could never be too. It could never be too many.
Yeah. All right. Let me continue with a couple then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say from the Browder Files by Tony Browder. And the reason why I always recommend that book, particularly for like young people, teenagers and stuff like that, is because sometimes some young people don't like to read an entire book through. That book consists of 22 different essays on 22 different topics. So you can actually say, you know, I want to check this topic out and go straight to it, you know?
Yes.
And then it's not too long. It's a few pages. They vary, but it's more or less like a few pages. So for young people, I definitely recommend that. I'm going to recommend the ISIS Papers by Dr. Frances Quest Welshing. She really breaks down this color code system and what it is all about, you know, symbolically, you know, because there's a lot of times so many things are hidden from us because we don't understand symbols. You know, it's right in front of our eyes, but we don't understand it because we don't know how to interpret symbols.
Yes.
So she breaks down a lot of symbols in the society for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend for How You Up on the Walter Rodney is a Guyanese, and this is a classic book. You know, if you read the history of Walter Rodney, they banned him from Jamaica. He used to teach at the University of West Indies. You know, he used to ground with the Rasta brethren. He's one responsible for a lot of education for Rastafarian brethren in Jamaica. You know,
wow.
So he has a small piece called "Groundings with My Brothers." You really should have said groundings with my Rastafari brothers, but groundings with my brothers. Yeah? Because you didn't find university lecturers in those days teaching at UWI at Mona campus. Coming out in the community and grounding with brothers. You know what I'm saying? And he did that. He came off of the campus and grounded with, and they had the Rodney riots because when he was coming back from Canada, they were like, nah, you can't come back in here. You too radical. Yeah, them brothers in Jamaica mass and protest and do all kind of stuff, you know? So this is one more I will recommend.
Wow.
Up on the Develop Africa is a serious book.
See, that's what I'm talking about. How many books you think you read in your lifetime, man?
Maybe two.
How many? Two?
This here is my desk for reading right now, except this one. So what I do, Alonzo Bashman?
Yes, sir.
A lot of my friends, you know, might spark certain ideas in my head, you know.
Okay.
And as soon as they spark certain ideas, what I do, I go get. Sometimes they might give me certain titles, or I'll come up with the titles myself, you know. And I'll go read up on all of that, you know. Yeah, I'll go read up on all of that. So that's what I do. You know, if people around me who write, I read a book. So if you have a book, I make sure I read a book. So I have a lot of friends who like teach at universities and stuff, and they write. You know, it might be some of them not even published. It might just be the PhD dissertation, and I will go and read a PhD dissertation and stuff like that to see exactly where they're coming from. You know. A lot of Trini sisters I know with the PhD and stuff like that, with books and stuff like that. I read all this stuff.
Okay. Nice.
Hey there, podcast lovers. You know that feeling when you discover something amazing and can't wait to share it? Well, that's exactly what I'm experiencing right now with the Alonzo Bash podcast. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review on your favorite episode, and spread the word to your friends and family. So what are you waiting for? Let's make Alonzo Bash the next big thing in podcasting.
What about somebody is a self-publishing? Like, how can someone get their book into your store?
Yeah, so we have a review process.
Yes.
Because, you know, back in the day when we were building and stuff like that, everybody come with a book, give me it. But, you know, space is definitely a question. So we review it, and we review it on different levels. If we think it could sell, we market for it. And the person who bring in the book, even though they self-publish, they got to do promotions themselves. Because you figure, let's say we have 50,000 books, we can't promote 50,000 books.
True.
They gotta say like, look, your book is available at everyone's place. So they gotta create a demand for it. Yeah. You see, and where people can go for it. You can't just bring your book and give it to us, and that's the end of the story. You know, you gotta promote. Even when you deal with those what they call mainline publishing companies, right? They don't do nothing for your book. They might promote your book for a month, but you as author, you have to find the ways to promote your book. It's a lot easier these days because of the kind of media we have than it was back in the day. Yeah, back in the day it was. And even self-publishing is a lot easier because you could, you know, back in the day, to make any sense of what you're doing, you have to print maybe 1,000, 3,000 copies of a book. Now you can just take a book, print 100 copies. So you don't have to worry about storage like we used to have to worry back in the day. You know, you print 100 books, you could have that in your house. But what I find with a lot of people who self-publish, they don't understand the book industry. You see, because a few weeks ago, some brothers in Baltimore put together a men's writing conference. I spoke about distribution because a lot of brothers don't understand. They just write the book, but they don't think about marketing because they don't know when they approach a bookstore what is the basic discount bookstores look for.
Yeah, the lingo and all these things.
Well, not lingo, but just basics. Well, you know, what is the discount? What is in the marketplace? What is the discount that as a publisher you give to bookstores?
Okay, yeah.
In the marketplace, what is the discount that a publisher gives to a distributor? So a distributor like me, which we do to our other company, we sell books to black bookstores, you know? So we have to do the bookstore discount as though we the publisher. That's what a distributor is, you know?
Yes.
And so when you're writing, you have to really do your research in terms of the marketing because it have a lot of people, Bashman, write a lot of good books and they're sleeping in the basement because they don't do the homework in terms of how we market, how we sell these books.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there. Yeah, I know a lot of people like this.
Wow. Oh, that's some good gems you just dropped there, man. I glad I asked the question. Yeah,
so do your marketing. Look into the market. See, so I will put it out for this radio station for here, right? When you this is trade titles, right? Yeah. When you publish a book, basically a bookstore is looking for 40% off. So if your book is $10, bookstore is gonna pay you $6 for your book. As a distributor now, a distributor takes 60% off. Yeah. Because remember he has to sell at 40% of stores. Yeah. So if your book is $10, a distributor is going to want to buy your book for $4. Yeah. When you're setting the price on your book and all that, you have to take that into consideration. Yeah. The price mark for your book because of what a distributor would want and what a bookstore would want.
Wow. Some good knowledge, man. All right, brother Nati, I'm gonna open up the floor before we wrap it up. You know, give you a chance if you wanna anything you wanna add. You know, the floor is yours at this point.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, the floor is yours. Any specific thing you want to say to your, fans, family, the book business, whatever comes to your mind?
Well, what comes to my mind, Alonzo Bashman, is that I really appreciate the fact that you took time to invite me to your radio program. I really appreciate all the questions you asked. They were very penetrative. I got you away from the bio piece. But once we got away from that, all the questions were very penetrative, even that. And like I say, I really appreciate the way you're very impressed by the way you merge, you conjure, art and activism. That's very important. The music is very important. Very important. But let me ask you a quick question before we leave, right?
Of course.
What kind of artists you listen to from Trinidad?
Well, I grew up listening to, believe it or not, if you look at, I listened to all of Trinidad. I was in the early days. I listened to a lot of Shadow.
Right now.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Man, put me on the spot. Right now, what artists I'm listening to at the
No, you have to tell me so tell me the genre. Mostly soca and kaiso?
Mostly soca.
Mostly soca. Okay.
From time to time, mostly soca, but from time to time, I will listen to some old kaiso.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for that, too, is I do a show on Sundays, called Sunday Vibes, and a lot of times I want to play songs that are old kaiso that you wouldn't typically hear on a regular basis, and to be honest with you, it really and truly the mood I gotta be in. But yeah, I'll say that.
So you familiar with Freetown Collective?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's one of my interviews I'm planning on lining up. But I'm familiar with the brothers. Yes, they're very, very conscious.
Right. You familiar with Annie Lee Prime?
No.
Yeah. So Annie Lee Prime is from Trinidad, right? And this is what I want to leave your station with, right? Annie Lee Prime, she is, I don't know, maybe she's on the ground right now or something but her name is spelled A-N-N A-L-I-E, Annie Lee, and her last name is A-N-N-A-L-I-E. Okay. And her last name is Prime, P-R-I-M-E. That young sister, I don't even think she's 30 years old yet. Might be close to it. She is one of the baddest poets. She says she's not a poet.
Okay.
Music, bro, is a whole different dimension. A whole different dimension. If you could pull up a song by her called Once Again, but all her music is bad.
Yeah, when we get up,
yeah, and then hit me back and tell me what you think of her.
Will do.
I want to leave your beautiful audience by saying, Asante Sana, I'm really happy that you tuned in, and check Annalie Prime out. Thanks, Alonzo Bash, man.
Give thanks, man. So once again, everyone's place, want to give us the official location?
Everyone's place is located at 1356 West North Avenue in Baltimore, and it's halfway between Druid Hill and Pennsylvania Avenues.
Brother Nati, a.k.a. Father Nati, much appreciated, man.
Blessings and love, brother?
Yes,
All right.
You're jumping.